to developing a nuclear weapon?
I think they're close. I think they're close. They're too close. But again, you could go back 4 years. I would have said they would have had it during this intervening period. But they're pretty close, Peter.
And why say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. If that happens to a leader or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran. I've left instructions.
So essentially what he's saying is Iran can't have a bomb that they've been on the verge of having for 20 plus years. But if they try to take him out or anyone in his circle, they have orders. He has left instructions, like COG, continuity of government, in case something like that happens, no matter who is the perpetrator, right? That's basically what he said. So to me, this seems like a setup. It really does. He's now going to fly to the Super Bowl. And when I show you on the maps of how these plane crashes and everything fit into all this, it's pretty interesting to say the least. So let me get the maps open. And now I have shown you many, many times this line that goes from the Washington Monument Obelisk to the Bunker Hill Boston Obelisk and then continues all the way halfway around the world through England, London, down through Europe, all the way down through the 7 churches in Asia to Mount Hermon, Israel, Lebanon, Syria, primarily Mount Hermon. I've shown that to you. Now I'm going to have to go back to the old notes on this one. Trump's going to the Super Bowl, and we can't forget that the Super Bowl also has the owl in it. It's just the way it is. It's baked into the cake. And when we go to Washington, D.C., we all should know by now that the Capitol building, where the dome is, sits within a gigantic owl that's been created into the landscape. No question about that one. And the dome sits right in the middle of the owl. So the Super Bowl, the superb owl, some have named it, is key to this because he was just inaugurated under the dome. Did you know that there's a gigantinormous statue of Athena underneath the Capitol dome where Trump went down unscheduled to speak to people after the inauguration? And her main symbol is the owl. Isn't that ironic? And the Super Bowl is being played in the Super Dome, which is now called Caesars Superdome, which I find very interesting because, again, and also look how the Mississippi snakes through New Orleans. That's pretty interesting to me. But regardless, it is a dome. In fact, it's the largest freestanding dome in the world. And it's been there since 1973. And a lot of us remember it during Katrina. Well, that was just a nightmare. But it's the Caesar Dome. A Caesar is a title of an emperor, a ruler. Remember, Donald means ruler. And it's worthy of noting that the first Caesar, Julius Caesar, was assassinated by the senators on the 15th of March, 44 BC. They stabbed him 23 times. And if we go back to the map and I show you these airplane crashes, we had the American Airlines operating under American Eagle. So it was an American Eagle airplane that crashed with a Black Hawk helicopter. All 3 of these birds that I've mentioned so far, the owl, the eagle, and the hawk, are unclean birds according to the Bible. And that brought me directly to Revelation 18, the fall of Babylon. Look at verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird, like the owl, the eagle, and the hawk. Just saying. So we had the Black Hawk collide with the American Eagle, right here in Washington, D.C. And my take on that is that that helicopter was overtaken by AI, so to speak, because the best pilot in the world could not time that type of an interception. It's possible, but very highly unlikely. I believe that that chopper was intentionally sent into this airplane like a missile.
Mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. sent an American Airlines jet and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter plunging into the icy Potomac River. 5:18 p.m. American Airlines Flight 5342, a CRJ 700, departs from Wichita, Kansas, bound for Washington, D.C. 8:48 and 48 seconds. The two aircraft collide at about 300 feet. The jet was traveling at approximately 145 miles per hour.
And when we look at the Philadelphia crash, which is right up here, many people reported that as appearing to be just like a missile. And Philadelphia is the home of the Eagles that are playing in the Super Bowl, or Superb Owl. And this crash site to this crash site perfectly parallel with this main line. Remember, the Key Bridge was right on that line? But what really is interesting, if you continue this line with a deviation of not even 2 degrees, it's almost perfectly straight all the way down to the Superdome, Caesar's Superdome. It's 966 miles. The simple fact that we have him flying down there for the Super Bowl right after these crashes where the helicopter was allegedly on training for continuity of government.
On a routine annual retraining of night flights on a standard corridor for a continuity of government mission. The military does dangerous things on the regular basis.
And now he puts out a press conference telling the reporter that if they try to kill us, I mean, what kind of, you hear the way that the reporter asked the questions, they're trying to kill you guys personally. Oh, well, if they do that, I've left instructions on how to handle that.
I've left instructions.
It will be utter destruction for them, regardless of who pulls it off. This is just really, really intriguing to me. It seems to me as though there is a setup going on here, a potential for a false assassination attempt, or they attack Air Force One, or some craziness, you know, just how everything fits together here. But I think you get the gist of it. Not only that, if you look at the map of Washington, if you look at it north to south, just like you would look at any map, you have this right angle, which is telling you where the Temple of the Masons is, where they perform the inauguration ritual, the obelisk, and the dome, a perfect right angle. And we know how the Masons, they love their angles. But look where this leads us down this way, is right to the crash. And if you look at this, these two rivers that come together into the Potomac River here, to me, looks like the reproductive organs of a woman. That's what it looks like. And down here would be the birth canal, where the birth would happen. Right in here, this helicopter and plane crash are almost like the birth pains beginning. And don't forget, it'll have been 40 days as of Super Bowl Sunday that they had the New Year's terror attack in New Orleans. 40 has a lot of connotations biblically, and it's been a time of trial ever since day one of this year. And this would be the birth canal. And what's right at the bottom of the birth canal? Well, first off, you have this Woodrow Wilson Bridge. And if this were, disturbed, that would disrupt an awful lot of stuff. But the most intriguing thing to me is right here. They have the Awakening statue that was moved from its original place to right here. Right where the birth canal, where the baby would come out, essentially. Right there. And it's between Maryland and Virginia. The Virgin Mary. It's another inversion of Scripture. And Trump, of course, is the father of warp speed, the war on the seed. He's just announced this gigantic Stargate AI initiative talking about mRNA, DNA vaccines, right? It's all clicking together. It just is to me anyway. And don't forget, New Orleans, the Superdome, the Caesars Superdome, is the home of the Saints. I find that intriguing. But bottom line, it appears to me that they may be setting up for some sort of a false flag involving Trump or military, some sort of attack to get things rolling, to initiate them like they did with 9/11, to mobilize the entirety of the armed forces and just do every single thing that they want to do. That's my take on it for now. It's subject to change.